Hi everyone. In this video, we are going to look at the detailed form filling guidelines for CAT 23. Let's get started. So before we get started, let's quickly talk about the important dates and the things that you need to keep handy before you start filling your form. So in terms of the important dates, as you can see, the online registrations for CAT 23 has already started. So that started on the 2nd August and the last date to apply is going to be 13th September. So you have fair bit of time before you can fill the form, and just make sure that you don't make any mistakes while you're submitting, and that is why you should watch this entire video. In terms of admit card release date, so that will be released on 25th October, and the date of examination, as it has always been, is going to be the last Sunday of November, hence 26th November. The result will be declared in second week of Jan, and that is tentative. Last year it was announced in the month of December, but let's see, this is the date that they have announced at this point of time. So let's now look at the things that you need to keep handy before you start filling the form. Now the first and foremost thing that you will need is of course your photograph. And when it comes to photo, there are some specifications that have been given by the CAT authority. So it should not be more than 6 months old and it should have a white or off-white background. And the dimensions for the same has also been given. So it should be 30 by 45 mm and the maximum file size should be 1 MB. The file format that is accepted is JPEG or JPG. Now what you also need to do is upload the same photograph that you will be carrying along with you when you go for the test. So it's the same photograph that you are going to affix on the admit card as well. In terms of signature that you need to upload, the maximum file size is going to be 80 KB and the dimensions are going to be 80 by 35. Again, the same file format is going to be accepted. In terms of the photograph signature and any documents that you upload, just ensure that you scan it using a scanner, because a lot of times students take a photograph and then upload and it may not be very clear, and that is why always use a scanner while scanning the documents. Now depending on if a category certificate is applicable to you or the disability certificate is applicable, you will need copies of that before you start filling the form. In addition to this, when you are entering your academic details, your 10th, 12th, graduation, your master's degree, professional qualification, if that is applicable to you, you're going to need the marks that you have obtained in each of these years. Also note that when you are entering the marks, you are supposed to convert your CGPA or grades that you have obtained to percentage. And that is why you will need the conversion formula as well. If you have any work experience, while you are entering the work experience, you only have to enter full-time paid work experience after graduation, and you have to calculate this as on 31st July 23. And finally, you will also need to have either a credit card or a debit card or your net banking details before you start filling the form, because you will have to make the payment at the end of it. So let's now get started with the actual form filling. So now I am on the main website of CAT, which is imcat.ac.in. And as you can see on the right hand side, there are three options. New candidate registration, which is what we are going to do. If you are already registered, if you have created your account, then you will have to log in. All your subsequent logins have to be using the registered candidate login option, which is the second one. The third one is not applicable to students. It says registration of non-IM institutions for CAT 23. So this is basically for institutes who are going to be accepting CAT scores. So this is not for students. Let me scroll down and show you a few other options that you have. So as you can see on the left hand side, there are some information documents that are available, starting from the CAT 23 advertisement, the percentile score calculation mechanism, the selection process, the eligibility, information bulletin, media release, and so on. If you want, you can always go through these documents. There is a quick tour, which is CAT 23 registration guide, that is also available. And on the right hand side, you have all the formats in which you are supposed to upload the documents. So for certificate, whether it is the authorization form, if a scribe is applicable, then what is the affidavit for it, any identification affidavit that you need, or the final year certificate, the NCOBC, EWS, the category certificate if that is applicable, and the disability certificate. So all these formats are given to you. When you are uploading the documents, they have to match these particular formats that are given. So let's now start creating our account, and let me show you the dashboard. So I just clicked on new registration button, and as you can see, it is asking you to use either a Mozilla or a Google Chrome or Microsoft Edge browser to fill the form that you have. And the application form is compatible with Android and iOS as well. We strongly recommend you to use a laptop while filling the form rather than using your mobile phone. The second notice that you see is going to be regarding your data. So they have written as to why they're asking for this data, whether it is applicant name, date of birth, mobile number, and email address, and for what purpose it is going to be used. Again, you can simply click on I agree. So the first step is going to be registration. Now, as you can see, name of candidate and the note that is given there, which is candidate name should be entered exactly as it appears on 10th or SSC certificate. Only alphabets are allowed. So you have to adhere to this guideline that the CAT authority has given. Post this, you have to enter your date of birth, your email address, and you also have to enter it again to confirm it. Just make sure that you don't change this email address throughout the entire process, because this is going to be used for any official communication from the IMS and the CAT authority. So that is why use an email ID that is something that you often use and do not change it throughout this entire journey. You will also have to enter the country to which you belong, the mobile number along with the code, and confirmation of the mobile number. Now, once you do all of this, you'll have to generate an OTP, and you enter the OTP and complete the declaration, the CAPTCHA verification. And once you're done with this, your account will get created. Using the login details that you get, you have to log in again to the platform and start filling the form. So after completing the initial registration, I got the login ID and password on my email address and my mobile number. Using that, I've logged into the platform once again. Now, as you can see, there are 6 parts to the CAT form. The first is personal details, academics, work experience, programs, test city, and payment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through all of them in detail. The first thing that we're going to start with is personal details. So when it comes to personal details, the candidate name will get auto-populated because that is something that you entered when you registered for the CAT. The first name you will have to enter again, followed by middle name, last name, and your father's or guardian's name, along with that your mother's or guardian's name, and then spouse's name if that is applicable to you. So those things need to be entered on this particular screen. The next is other personal details. Starting from date of birth, you have already entered it when you registered for the test. Candidate gender, there are 3 options, male, female, and transgender. You'll also have to select the nationality, then your category. There are 5 options there: general, EWS, NCOBC, SC, and ST. The next question is whether you belong to person with disability. There are some follow-up questions on that. If you select yes, the first question is whether the disability is measurable. The PWD UDID number has to be entered. Then PWD category also needs to be selected. And then there are 2 questions, whether you require wheelchair support at the test venue and whether you would be needing a scribe for the test. If you have selected no, then there are no follow-up questions. After this, you'll have to enter the first COVID vaccination date and the second COVID vaccination date as well. The next is going to be your communication address. So here they have written that you have to enter a valid address as it will be used for further communication. Typically, nothing is sent to your postal address that you have, but you have to ensure that you give the right address. Starting from address line 1, 2, and 3, and then you have to select the country, the state, the district, town or the city to which you belong, and then the PIN code. The primary email address will get auto-populated. Along with this, you'll have to submit one more email address. Just make sure that it is an active email ID that you have, and the primary mobile number again will be auto-populated. The next is emergency contact details. You will have to enter the code and the mobile number of the emergency contact, and you will have to enter the relationship with candidate. And the final thing is document upload. So again, they have given a note that scanning of photograph, signature, and the category certificate or the PWD certificate, whatever you're going to upload, it has to be done using a scanner only. Please do not use your camera to take a picture and try to upload it. So as you can see, it is asking me to upload my passport size photograph. It is asking me for a signature and for the PWD certificate because I had selected yes for that at the beginning of the form. Based on whatever choices you have given, it will ask you to upload those documents. So you can complete this step and then we can move forward. Let's now move to the next section, which is academics. So there is an important note that is given at the beginning that in case of grade or CGPA, the conversion of percentage or conversion to percentage of marks would be based on the procedure as certified by the respective board or the university or the institution. If any board or university confirms that there is no scheme for converting CGPA into equivalent marks, the equivalence would be established by dividing the CGPA obtained by the maximum possible CGPA that is there and multiply that result by 100. So what this is trying to say is, if the university or the institution to which you belong has given an explicit formula to convert your GPA to percentage, you are supposed to use that. But just in case a university has not given it, there is no such formula, then what you can do is your obtained GPA divided by the maximum GPA possible and multiply that by 100 to get the percentage. Now let's start with 10th standard information. The first thing that you'll have to enter is whether it is SSC or 10th or equivalent, you'll have to enter the board from which you have completed the degree. In terms of month and year of completion, you'll have to enter the month and year, followed by maximum marks, including all the subjects that you have. You will also have to enter total marks obtained, again including all the subjects. The aggregate percentage needs to be calculated. Now, as we discussed, the CGPA to percentage, you will have to use the conversion provided by your university or board. A lot of times students, for example, do, let's say for example, CBSE. Students think that getting a 10 GPA translates to 100%, but that is not how it works. You will have to multiply by 9.5, which is the conversion given by CBSE to convert GPA to percentage. So whatever it is that is applicable to you, you will have to use that particular formula. In terms of subjects, you have to enter all the subjects that appear on your mark sheet. A lot of times students have electives or any extra subjects that they study which are typically not considered by their board to calculate their percentage. But that's not something that you are supposed to do while filling the CAT form. Everything, all the subjects that appear on your mark sheet, you'll have to consider them and you'll have to calculate the total marks that you obtained divided by the maximum marks to get the percentage. When it comes to percentage, you have to round it off to 2 decimal places, and they have given example to understand how that is supposed to be entered. So you can complete this information and then move to the 12th standard details. For 12th standard or HSC or equivalent, same information is required. So you have to select what is the course type, whether it is a 12th or equivalent, or you have done a diploma, followed by the maximum marks inclusive of all subjects, total marks obtained by you inclusive of all subjects, and then the aggregate percentage that you have obtained. The next is going to be bachelor's degree information, and this is very, very important. The first question is, are you in the final year of bachelor's degree? You can select yes if you are currently in the final year. If you have already completed, you can select no here. There are some follow-up questions starting from the duration of the degree, the semester in which you are, the type of university or the institute, the state or the union territory where the university is located, the name of the university or the institute, the name of college, and so on. Along with this, you'll have to enter the degree name, the discipline in which you are studying, the graduation stream, month and year of course commencement, and the course completion. It could be a probable month or year of completion as well. In terms of marks, the percentage that is awarded by the university or the institute, that also has to be entered. Again, follow the same method that your college or your university has specified for the conversion. There's a question which is, do you have or are you undergoing dual or 5-year integrated course? Because if you are, let's say for example, you have a dual degree, they have given an example of this, let's say bachelor's and master's, like a BTech plus MTech or a BTech plus MSc program, you have to enter the appropriate details in the bachelor's and the master's degree section. Now, in addition to this, if you have already completed a bachelor's degree, at the top you'll have to select yes. Again, there are similar follow-up questions that you're going to get. You can complete this information and move ahead. If you are someone who has more than one bachelor's degree and they have given an example, say BCom plus LLB or B plus BPharm, then what you'll have to do is enter the second bachelor's degree details as well. So similar to the first bachelor's degree information that you entered, the question is second bachelor's degree, whether you are in the final year or not, or if you have completed the program, you can enter the details that are applicable to you. Post this, there's a question on master's degree details as well, whether you want to enter your master's degree, and based on the selection that you do. So let's say if you select yes, the follow-up questions are there in terms of master's degree completion status, total duration of degree, the type of university or the institution, and so on, which are very similar to the bachelor's degree questions that are there. Again, you will have to enter the aggregate marks and follow the methodology given by your university or board. And lastly, on this page, you have to enter your professional degree or qualifications that you have. So the first question is, are you a fellow of the Institute of Actuaries of India? If it is applicable, you can select yes. If you are somebody who is currently pursuing or you have completed a CA or a CS or ICWA, you can go with the next option. Now the degree you will have to select whether it is CA, ICWA or CS, and then indicate whether you have completed it or you are currently pursuing it. So there are two options, in progress and completed. Along with this, you'll have to have the follow-up questions as well, name of professional degree, the inter marks percentage that you got, the final marks percentage that you got, the professional final aggregate marks, month and year of course commencement, and month and year of course completion. So this is the information that you'll have to fill if you have a professional qualification applicable. So once you're done with this, we can move to the next section, which is going to be work experience. Now let's start entering the work experience information if that is applicable to you. There are some notes that you need to go through. Firstly, you have to enter your work experience as on 31st July 2023. Only full-time experience after graduation must be entered, and any part-time, project, internship, articleship, pre-graduation work experience that you have, that should not be entered and will not be considered as work experience. Now let me show you how this is going to work. You'll have to enter the start date and the end date. So here I've selected automobile, and if the industry in which you have worked is not listed, you can always select others there. The first thing that I'll enter is the start date, the end date. So let's say I exited this particular job on the 17th July, I'm going to enter that. And if there was any gap between this period, let's say you took a sabbatical or there was some gap that happened between the work experience, you can enter that information and it will auto-calculate the days for which you have worked. And at the bottom of the screen, let's say you have multiple work experiences, you've worked with different organizations or different industries, you can enter all of that information, and finally it is going to calculate the total work experience as on 31st July, and it will also indicate that same thing in months and days as well. So you just have to enter the start date, end date, if there were any gaps in individual industries that are mentioned, and once you're done, it will auto-calculate this information. Once you're done with this section, you can move forward. Please note that at this point of time, you don't have to upload any of the documents to substantiate that you have worked in a particular company or industry. So right now, you're not going to need any salary slips or work experience certificate and so on. You just have to enter the start date, end date, any gap, and it will just calculate the days for which you have worked. Right now, you don't have to submit any proofs for the work experience that you have. The next section is programs, and here you will have to select the programs for which you want to apply. There is a note there that applicant can select any number of programs, and for each of the programs that you select, you'll have to select an interview city as well. And the list of interview cities is tentative, it may change at a later point of time. Now there are two ways to go about this entire selection. The first thing is to select everything the way I have done on screen, and that's the easiest thing to do. What you'll also have to do is, of course, select the interview cities for each of these institutes. The second thing is, if you want to be selective, for example, you're not considering applying to any of the PhD programs, you can decide not to select that while you're submitting the preferences. We strongly recommend students not to skip any of the IIMs, any of the flagship programs or the additional programs that they have, which are 2-year full-time in nature. If there are any other hybrid programs also for which you want to apply, it's better that you make a choice at this point of time. So the simplest thing, as I said, would be to select everything. If you want to be selective and let's say decide not to apply to a particular program, just be very thoughtful about it, talk to somebody before you make that decision, and then only fill the preference accordingly. So select all, that is the simplest thing to do, and you can move forward. So now we are on the penultimate step, which is test city selection. So there are 6 preferences that can be given, and at the end of the registration process or the registration window, you can get any of those 6 preferred test cities that you have submitted. In case you don't get a city of your choice, you might be given a city which is the nearest to the preferences that you have given. So test city 1, 2, 3, you can give 6 preferences, and there's no guarantee that you can get your first preference. So a lot of times students have got the third or the fourth or even the later preferences that they give. You'll have to be ready to travel just in case you get the last preference that you have given. But for now, you just need to enter the 6 city preferences, starting from the one where you'll be most comfortable taking the test. And now we are on the last step, which is the payment. So the first information that you need to give is whether you're going to make the payment through net banking, credit card, debit card, whatever mode that you're planning to use for the payment. It will show you the amount that you need to pay, either 2,400 or 1,200, depending on the choices that you have made in the form. After this, there's declaration, and this is a very, very important step, because once you click on this declaration and once you make the payment, there's no way you can go back and change the information that you have entered. And that is why we strongly recommend students to check the information that they have given once or twice, and only when you are certain that you have entered all the accurate information, then only click on the declaration, preview the application, and then you can make the payment. So once you're done with this, you have successfully completed the CAT 2023 application process. We hope you found this video useful. In case you have any questions, you can always leave it as a comment and we'll try and get back at the earliest. If you haven't subscribed to the YouTube channel, do it right away because we're going to have a lot of content coming your way which will help you prepare for the CAT. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.